Rory and Maul confirmed that Julian is no longer with their podcast.
Before we get out of here, obviously I've seen some comments on Twitter, on IG. Clearly, Julian is no longer with the podcast. We wish him the absolute best. Love to him. But yes, he's no longer part of the pod. Appreciate all the contributions and salute to him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. We'll be back.
Yes, on the last episode of the Rory and Maul podcast, Rory confirmed that Julian is not on the show anymore. And this comes on the heels of everyone saying, "Where is Julian?" considering he hasn't appeared on any episodes, he's no longer in the pod description, and has been really cryptic on his Instagram and Twitter.
I just have to see how things play out before I step out and say anything. I can talk. I'm just being patient, and it's tough to be patient, but it's the smart thing and right thing to do.
But this was an awkward announcement, as it was only Rory saying, "Hey, we're happy he worked here, blah, blah, blah," the spiel. But Maul, DeMarz were conspicuously quiet. So, to me, this all but indicates there was some tension behind the scenes, and this isn't an amicable split. And a lot of people have made the suggestion that, maybe Julian just wants to disappear. He wants to be off key. He wants to be less high profile. I don't think that's the case at all. If you look at his time at the podcast, I mean, this guy was always opening up. He was the most open on the pod, sharing a lot about his life, his battles with addiction, his forays into seeing escorts overseas, and also, just being open. So to me, I think one of two things happened. I think Julian may have asked for some type of leverage, whether it be a raise or higher standing within the show, and they promptly said no. Or Rory and Maul may have lost the deal, decided to cost cut, and Julian was the highest on the totem pole in terms of pay, so they decided to get rid of him and keep DeMarz, who was the original producer of the show. And this whole baby D and Julian thing needs to be examined as well, because she's mocking how Julian used to speak on the show when she said the thing about leave it in the comments, but then they appeared like they were the best of friends. There's even been rumors that they have been hooking up. I don't think that's the case. I think that's just a narrative, kind of like Ish and Melissa Ford. But I don't know. Were Julian and DeMarz ever as cool as we thought? They went to the J. Cole concert. Could something have happened there? Off work meetings is often where it goes down. I don't say that that's what happened. I'm just saying, I don't know. So I want to also go over something else that I've noticed on the show. The ads for the podcast have changed. It appears like they don't have ads anymore. Could that be an indication of their deal with Studio 71 changing? And maybe that's why they had to tighten their belt strap and really cost cut. We all know that when you lose an ad deal, often podcasts can end. Like if you see Bridget Kelly and Mandy, see the thing is ended when they lost their Gumball deal, and they basically said we no longer want to do a show. Well, really what happened is your deal ended. And I think the Rory and Maul podcast is so popular that even if their deal ends, they should still keep it going because of the YouTube, the Patreon, and they might get other $500 ad deals. That's typically the going rate nowadays for like a YouTube ad. So be prepared to see that on their YouTube channel. And I also have intel. This is not from Julian. This is not from Rory or Maul. Even though I have spoken with them in the past, I've done interviews. I have intel that Julian and Rory and Maul, they had an interesting dynamic. One where Julian was trying to push the envelope, trying to get them to promote the show, trying to get them to go and do things differently. But he would be rebuffed or he would be shot down. And this person told me that, Julian was frustrated. He didn't necessarily like how Rory and Maul approach content creation. Like I said, this is just conjecture. I'm not in a law court, right? So before y'all start saying, oh, you don't have any proof, I believe this person. I do think they're telling the truth. It always seemed to me, like Rory and Maul are just stuck in their ways, specifically Maul, and that tracks with the way Maul didn't say anything during Rory saying that Julian was gone. Maul was quiet. Even when Eden exited the show, Maul said something. And we gotta look back at the whole Eden thing. Could there have been bad blood left over from that situation? Yes, Julian was the one who was assaulted, but maybe pod members felt like Julian brought that upon himself, and it led to a black eye, not just, this is not tongue-in-cheek, not just for Julian, but also for the pod. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think the Rory and Maul show finds themselves on thin ice. Like I said, I think they can always exist, but I do think their ceiling is now severely lowered without Julian there. Some people are noticing how his absence is greatly noted. There are some folks who feel as if now they're talking over each other. On the last episode where they talked over the whole Fox Sports allegations of Joy Taylor and Skip Bayless, they weren't well researched. DeMarz was taking the easy stance of protect all women despite, the accusations being against women. And now, I think the smartest guy in the room has left the room. And I don't think that show is up for it anymore as far as doing deep dive discussions. I think Rory's smart. I think DeMarz, bull in the china shop. A bit like female Flip. One track mind. She says the same thing over and over. Doesn't have much adaptability in her viewpoints. And can't really see the bigger scope. Maul, can he light up a room? He can make things very lighthearted. But when it comes to really deep diving, knowing the science, very surface level opinion giver, someone who doesn't really get into topics like I think he should, and is also very headstrong. And that's one thing we also need to monitor is Maul and DeMarz, because they had some arguments recently that I felt were more than COE. Felt like DeMarz was hitting her head against the wall verbally. And DeMarz also had tweets where she was talking about how her mental health was in the drain, how she couldn't really function and all of that stuff. Another unique thing I noticed in the podcast description is they put DeMarz's YouTube channel in the podcast description. What is that about? Could that mean that's part of some type of burgeoning network for the Rory and Maul show? Or are they doing a solid that it's not part of the network, but that, hey, the pay cut's going to be cut. Create your own content and we'll plug it because, we really ain't got it like that. I've always felt like there was signs of the Rory and Maul show tightening up, especially when DeMarz and Julian weren't flying out for shows. I think Julian used to fly out for shows, but no longer did. So the signs were there, the writing was on the wall, and here goes another breakup in 2025. But let me know what you think. Will you continue to watch the show without Julian? His presence is definitely noted, but there's always iterations that Rory and Maul can make. I mean, much like Joe with Rory and Maul, people came to see Joe. And much like Rory and Maul with Julian and DeMarz, people come to see Rory and Maul. So if they make the right decisions, play their cards right, they will be in a good spot. Alright, y'all, let me know what you think in the comments. What did you think about today's episode? What do you think about all of the episodes without Julian? I know a lot of people are saying it sucks now, but I mean, this is just really instant backlash. In a few months, will people care? People move on with their lives. There's a lot going on in the world. Subscribe to my Patreon to stop. We're doing real well over there. Also, follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV, and follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.